Welcome back, Team DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. In case y'all don't know what time it is, because y'all don't ever catch the beginning of the video, it's 6 p.m. Wednesday. If not, it'll be 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, aka another day in paradise. What's another day in paradise? That's what time you should normally come looking for your boy, because you know how we do. Sit here, talk about some cannabis related laws, anything cannabis, because that's what I like to talk about. If you don't like to talk about cannabis, I understand. I definitely understand. But just make sure you stay your non-cannabis talking about ass over on your channel with your non-cannabis talking about content. But hey, if you like wet plenties, team deep water cultivating, anything I'm gonna be talking about, to pull up on your boy, because I got that for you. Like Uncle Ray said, I got one for you, baby. Anyways, let's see. Let's flip the camera around. Camera settings. Flippity flip. Bring it back to the bottom of the map. Try to center it in. This angle cuts out a whole lot from the freaking screen. That angle has everything I want to see on screen. So there we go. Y'all know to go check out the big homie, get y'all some beats. If y'all don't appreciate them, I don't appreciate you either. Hell, and I'll tell you how I feel, because hell, what you gonna do? Leave a comment? Yeah, that's called engagement. That's part of the things that I want you to do. So I ain't gonna tell you what to do. I'm gonna just tell you how I feel, and if you don't like it, then you let me know how you feel about it, right? Maybe something close to it. Anyways. Like I said, I feel this slaps that he had produced. So, we're going to promote it. Y'all know if y'all need y'all intro beat, an outro beat, get you a TSM verse or whatever, hit us up. Let's go up. Let's get some gas and roll up. Let's go up. Let's get some gas and roll up. Let's go up. Let's get some gas and roll up. Let's go up. Let's get some gas and roll up. Like I said, for the original beats, go to the homie at DJ Is. You dig? Oh, Lord. Rest in peace, my granny, she got hit by a bazooka. Yeah, I think about it. Erykah Badu out here showing y'all that thickness don't count if it ain't real.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome into our latest Trade to Black weekly recap presented by Free Pouch. If you're looking for a cleaner alternative and want to save on your first order, use promo code TDR20 and save $20 at freepouch.com. All right, so what grabbed our attention this week? And yeah, you can only imagine what the first one is. Well, how about a major shakeup at the top of the Justice Department? Yes, Pam Bondi, she's out. Also, a major hemp crackdown in Texas that's already forcing some retailers to shut down. And on the business side, some notable earnings, refinancing activity, and consolidation moves that continue to change the cannabis sector. So with that, let's get into our latest Trade to Black weekly recap presented by Free Pouch. All right, first up, we begin with news out of Washington. We saw it on late Thursday. It was a major development, first reported by multiple outlets, where President Trump is now fired Attorney General Pam Bondi, with Deputy Attorney General General Todd Blanche stepping in as acting Attorney General for now. It's important to also mention that Lee Zeldin is still being mentioned as a possible longer-term replacement. And for this audience paying attention, that is immediately notable, especially when you consider how important the DOJ is to federal cannabis conversation right now. So according to reporting, Trump had grown increasingly frustrated with Bondi over several issues, including how the department handled the Epstein files, concerns about her communication style, and what he saw as a lack of aggressiveness in pursuing his political opponents. Now the question becomes for many in this industry what this could mean for cannabis policy. So here's the latest. Todd Blanche stepping in as acting Attorney General does not automatically mean cannabis reform will be delayed in any kind of way. And if someone like Lee Zeldin were to emerge as the permanent replacement, that would also not necessarily suggest things would be delayed. He has been very open-minded about cannabis. Zeldin has generally been viewed as more conservative when it comes to cannabis policy and more cautious in tone, but overall he has been supportive, including the States Act. So if there is a leadership change at Attorney General, it doesn't automatically mean cannabis reform is going to go away or lose any momentum. Far from it. In fact, depending on who ultimately takes over and what priorities shift inside the administration, it could very well come down to the process being so far advanced that we could get an announcement soon. And that matters because cannabis rescheduling is indeed one of the biggest unresolved stories in Washington right now. It would be the biggest cannabis policy reform announcement this industry has ever experienced, as we've said many, many times. So my takeaway this particular topic, deep breath, everything's going to be okay. Next up, big developments this week out of the state of Texas, Lone Star State. This is one of the biggest hemp stories in the country right now. So here's what went down this week. The state's new hemp rule, it's now officially in effect, and it's hitting the industry already pretty hard. The biggest change right now is this. Smokable hemp products are effectively being pushed off shelves. This ban came into effect on the 31st. So that includes flower, rolled joints, and similar inhalable products, categories for many stores, which make up a huge percentage of their business. But as we know, a lot of these smoke shops were operating illegally. So this is why this ban took place. On the flip side, for some of the companies that were doing it right, they're actually reporting the following. They're already seeing the fallout happen here this week. One retailer said the timing couldn't be worse, and here's why. They were in the middle of relocating, and now, because the revenue hit, they're now just shutting down altogether. It's too bad. Don't like that. Another operator said they expect around 30% of sales to disappear because of these new rules. And it's not just the product crackdown and all this. When you look even further, the new compliance burden is significant. Retail registration fees, they're now jumping from $155 to, get this, $5,000. Manufacturing licenses are increasing from $258 to $10,000 per facility. On top of that, businesses now face tougher packaging rules, new testing and record-keeping requirements, and the legal purchase age is moving to 21 and older. Also, if a store is caught selling non-compliant products, they could lose their license and face fines of up to $10,000 per day. So this is a massive regulatory shift, and this all ties back to the loophole that allowed hemp-derived THC products with less than 0.3% Delta-9 THC on a dry weight basis to flood the market. So we know the gray area helped build a business estimated $4.3 billion in annual revenue, and one that supported tens of thousands of jobs. So now Texas, they're indeed closing that loophole, at least for smokable products. So yeah, things got real in Texas this week. Also important to note that edibles and beverages remain untouched for now because those fall under a different regulator. And that's what makes this story definitely important in all this. Texas is not going all the way to total hemp shutdown, but it is clearly forcing the market into a much more tightly controlled structure. Supporters of the move, they say that this is about public safety, youth access, and bringing order to a market that grew way too fast, and it did. Critics, on the other hand, say it will wipe out small businesses and push consumers straight back to, guess where, the black market. And to be honest, that tension is exactly what makes this such an important story to watch. Because as we know, Texas is not alone here. We're seeing this across the entire country, where more states are moving away from the old hemp loophole model and towards a stricter regulated framework. I know it's tough to see this right now, but yes, regulation the right way is underway, and hoping to get more developments and more clarity on what this could mean for the hemp industry, because they need it, and rightfully so. Next up, let's now move to the Hoosier state, Indiana, where Governor Mike Braun offered what may be his most candid comments yet on cannabis policy. And what stood out is that he seems to recognize the ground is shifting. Well, it's about time, even if the legislature is not ready to move yet. So here's what he said. Braun said Indiana is now surrounded by 4 states with either medical or adult use cannabis laws: Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, and Kentucky. Thanks for paying attention. He also pointed out something else that a lot of people in the industry have been saying for years. Prohibition does not stop use. Thanks, Captain Obvious. He estimated that more than half of Hoosiers probably use cannabis illegally, which really tells you where things stand right now. Well, get a regulated market. Because if you look at this, people are already consuming, they're already crossing state lines, and they're already spending money elsewhere. So what Indiana is really doing at this point is refusing to regulate something that is already happening. Does this sound familiar in a lot of states that haven't adapted? Braun described himself as agnostic and said he's listening to law enforcement whose attitudes appear to be changing as well. Again, this all sounds similar in other states. But really the quote that stood out most was this. He said, "The crescendo will rise." And that's a key takeaway. The state's Republican leadership, they may not want to move in the near term, but let's face it, pressure is growing, public support is there. Neighboring state comparisons are indeed becoming impossible to ignore. And if federal rescheduling does indeed advance, which all signs point to that, then that's going to create even more urgency. So really, Indiana, they may not be ready today, but it's clearly inching towards a point where doing nothing becomes harder to defend. One thing's for sure, time changes everything, does it not? All right, let's now switch to the business side. And first up is Jushi Holdings. They had a very busy week. They posted full year 2025 revenue of $262.9 million, up 2% year over year, with fourth quarter revenue coming in at $68.3 million. Adjusted EBITDA for the full year was $50.3 million, with fourth quarter adjusted EBITDA at $13.9 million. The company also generated $17.7 million in operating cash flow and ended the year with $26.6 billion in cash equivalents, and restricted cash. But the bigger story in all this is that Jushi showed steady execution in a market where, let's face it, consistency matters. So job well done. The company improved more markets like Ohio and Virginia and expanded its retail footprint and continued pushing more of its own branded products through stores. Jushi branded products, they represent, to get this, 58% of retail revenue in its 5 vertical markets during Q4 alone. Further to that, then came the major balance sheet move. This week also, Jushi announced that it had successfully refinanced its senior secured debt with a new $160 million term loan, extending maturities and improving liquidity without diluting shareholders. So that was something to keep an eye on, because that's significant. Because really in this market, staying alive, have a longer runway, and staying flexible, it matters just as much as revenue growth. And when you factor in Virginia adult use legislation, still very much part of the conversation heading into 2027, then Jushi has a real setup there. Indeed does open, and all signs point to that market opening. So job well done by Jushi. Now, right after that, we also have to talk about Tilray, because whether people love the stock or hate it, this is still one of the most widely followed names in the sector, if not the most followed name. So here's the latest numbers. They posted $206.7 million in consolidated net revenue for the 3 months ending February 28th, 2026. That was an 11% increase from the prior year, and it marked a record quarter on the revenue side. So that's good, okay? The company also showed major improvement when it came to losses. Here's what it included. Operating loss narrowed to about $26.4 million, while net loss improved to roughly $25.2 million. Gross profit came in at nearly $55 million, representing a 27% margin. So when you look at this on the surface, you look at these numbers and you think, okay, this looks good. I like the progress. And if you think about it, in some ways it was. You look at international cannabis growth as well, and it was strong, especially in markets like Germany, Poland, and the UK. Distribution revenue, it rose sharply, up around 35%, helped by better pricing and volume. The company also continues to broaden its global beverage footprint through BrewDog and related acquisitions in the UK. We saw that a couple weeks ago, also in Australia and in the US. The company also highlighted operational optimization, including $33 million in Project 420 synergies, along with efforts to rationalize SKUs, distributors, and geographic focus. But saying all this, there's also a problem, and this is why the stock sold off this week. Investors are increasingly questioning Tilray's diversification strategy. Why? Well, the company has made a major push like beverages, positioning that category as a key long-term growth pillar. But here's the thing. In the quarter, beverage net revenue dropped nearly 24% year over year to $42.6 million. And guess what? That's a problem. Not only did the beverage segment decline, but Tilray also cited higher costs and category-wide headwinds in craft beer. Gross margins in that segment reportedly contracted by about 400 basis points. So yes, Tilray posted record revenue. Yes, profitability metrics improved. Investors are looking deeper and asking tougher questions. And that is, if the company's diversification strategy is indeed supposed to be the long-term answer, then why is the biggest pillars of that strategy under pressure? Fair questions as investors get smarter and smarter. And that's why the stock sank despite the headline numbers. Read between the lines here, people, and do your due diligence. And it further explains why Tilray shares are down sharply from their highs earlier this year. So this is one of those earnings reports where the top line growth, it looks encouraging, but when you look further, the market is clearly focused on where that growth is coming from and whether the long-term story still holds together. So some fair questions to be asked. We hope to have Irwin Simon next week to talk more about this. Next company we want to switch to is Grown Rogue. The company reported preliminary unaudited full year 2025 results that showed continued growth and also improving profitability. Here is what they reported. Revenue increased 22% to $32.4 million. Net income turned positive at $2.4 million compared to a significant loss the year end before. EBITDA and adjusted EBITDA also moved higher, and cash on hand, it more than doubled. Now, the company did delay the release of its financial audit financial statements, but management did say the delay was tied to the complexity of shifting from IFRS to US GAAP, not because of any major underlying problems with the business. So for now, the delay appears to be procedural and not operational. So keep that in mind. And the bigger takeaway in all this is that Grown Rogue continues to execute well in markets like New Jersey while dealing with pricing pressure in Ohio and, of course, Michigan. Tough market, Michigan, is it not? Next is Vireo Growth, who continues to stay active on the acquisition front. Man, are they in buying mode. This company is in one of the most aggressive deal-making phases we've seen in quite some time. So the headline move is a proposed transaction involving Hawthorne, the gardening and hydroponics business that's tied to Scotts Miracle-Gro. So if this acquisition is indeed completed, that would give Vireo meaningful infrastructure, working capital support, inventory, and supply chain capability. But at the same time, Vireo is also pushing forward with previously announced transactions involving PharmaCann retail assets in Colorado, while continuing to integrate previously acquired Schwazze assets in Colorado and New Mexico. So the message, consolidation is continuing, and Vireo wants to be one of the companies doing the consolidating, aren't they? Man, have they been buying a lot. Also making news this week was Village Farms. Well, what was it? Well, they strengthened its financial position by amending its long-term loan facility with what's called Farm Credit Canada, for those that don't know. Looking further, the company reduced the interest rate by 50 basis points and extended the maturity date by 4 years out to 2031. So when you look at this headline, it may not be the flashiest in the sector, but let's face it, flexibility matters. Lower borrowing costs and extended debt maturity give Village Farms more breathing room as it continues to build in cannabis and maintains its broader produce business. And finally, here's a name we haven't heard in a while, MediPharm Labs. What was it? Well, they delivered 8% revenue growth for 2025, with international medical cannabis becoming a bigger and bigger part of the story. Well, what was this story? Well, more than 50% of total revenue now comes from international medical markets, which, as we know, is important because it's showing the company is becoming less dependent on the Canadian market alone. The company also ended the year with over $10 million in cash and virtually no debt, something to keep in mind as well. So a clean balance sheet stands out in this sector, and it's something that's very welcomed. And with expansion into places like France, Brazil, and New Zealand, MediPharm is continuing to build around pharmaceutical-style international medical strategy. This company has been shellacked for years, so hopefully maybe they've turned a corner. So that wraps things up here. What was the big takeaway for you this week? At the federal level, Bondi's firing and the arrival of an acting attorney general to create maybe some optimism for this space. Are we ready for change? Again, as I said before, breathe, relax. I actually view this as a good thing for the cannabis space. As well, the big news out of Texas, where things went live with that ban this week and things have changed in a hurry. As I said earlier, things got real in Texas. As things things begin to tighten up and regulation on how you view it, it is being implemented. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of policy pressure, and a lot of scrutiny on execution, really all in all for this week. And that's exactly what matters each and every week in the cannabis space. So we will continue to watch this, report on it, and give you all the insight. We can break it down and be informative for you here at TDR. As usual, keep the conversation going. So leave your comments below. Love to get your feedback of what stood out to you this week. I'm sure you will say the Bondi firing and what this might mean for cannabis rescheduling moving forward. Another thing I want to mention is scan this QR code to become a daily baked-in newsletter subscriber. It keeps you up to date every single day, and it's delivered to your inbox weekdays, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. One last thing, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. Stay connected with us here at TDR because there's lots of stories that are starting to break. Got this pilot program going live, pending rescheduling announcements, a new attorney general. Yeah, things are happening in a lot of different directions. But more importantly, the cannabis industry fundamentally continues to perform as Jushi demonstrated that this week, along with MediPharms and Grown Rogue. Tilray top line revenue, yeah, it was good, but that beverage unit, I should say that business unit, has some questions that investors want to learn more of. So again, we'll try reaching out to Irwin Simon, and hopefully he can come on this week to talk further about that. That's it for now, everybody. Thanks again for checking in. I'll see you in the next video. I'm your host, Shad Dale.
Shad, man. He done did a lot of fucking videos, man. Almost as many as me. They say not to compare, but I compare my people to who work a lot. So you see what I'm saying?
How important is sleep? Well, we need to stop really looking at
just
the
don't compare yourself to shit. Compare
yourself
to what you would actually want to be, right?
Process is. So it's really
Shad's close to 100,000 subs than I am, so you know that's why I work with him.
Because every time we go to sleep, every time we close our eyes, every time we shut the digestive system down, the body automatically goes into repair. So the more waste, the more toxins that are in the body, then the body needs more time to sleep. The less waste in the body, the less toxins you have to process, less time you need to sleep. So, if you want to live a longer life or at least have more time to live, then keep your body clean and, you won't have to go 8 hours into the body shop at night.
Shout out to Zaza Gorillas in the chat.
What up, gang? It's your boy Zah back with another banger. Hey, just because you can grow some fire does not mean and does not make you a good breeder, right? This is where a lot of people get it twisted.
That's what I remind people. I'm a good grower. I'm not a breeder.
Are two totally different things. And
that's where I look out. I network with all breeders and growers.
A good grower and a good breeder. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You heard me? You know it. Turn up the leaf blower and the low. Don't forget to join the Discord. A couple announcements before we get started. The Hyman Games is here. April 11th in Trinidad. I will be in the building as a guest speaker, and we will be judging some games. I think they got rock climbing, skating, a bunch of stuff representing the Canna culture, some history, and some future endeavors that we may have for the plant, man. So I'm super excited. I cannot wait to be in Trinidad. We'll be vlogging it, so make sure you stay tuned. April 11th. Trinidad and Tobago, the Hyman Games. Tap in with Stay Calm, it's a plant, or tap in with Team Zaza if you need tickets. White Pirate, don't forget White Pirate OG is live on the site, so make sure you tap in with ZazaGenetics.com. Tap into ZazaGenetics.com, grab your White Pirate OG. Get that motherfucker. No. Oh, shit. Damn. Oh, damn. My bad. Hey, listen. I'm stuck in my phone. Coincidentally, the sponsor of today's video is Free cash. Literally, I'm making money right now playing video games.
Shout out to
You won't
Zaza
believe
getting
me,
him a little
but
bit
you
of
gotta
extra
try it.
bread.
Listen,
You
earn
know, a
free
college
cash now.
student
You
gonna
can
need some
literally
support, so y'all
cash
make
it
sure
into
y'all go
your bank
support your
account,
boy.
trade it in
Hell,
for
he's
gift
still in
cards,
school,
or
right?
invest in crypto. It's the dopest thing
Breeder
that's
school, but
came
hell,
to
it's
the
a whole
smartphone.
difference.
I'm telling
You
you,
never
to
stop
get
learning.
paid for
Hell,
those
help that
games that we
student
normally
out.
be playing anyway. Come on, man, earn some free cash. I'm gonna leave the link in the description to the sponsor of today's video. So don't lack, man. Don't lack. Jump on it now. Free cash now. So a good grower's job is simple, right? They take genetics and maximize them, right? Lights, nutrients, environment. They're trying to get the best possible expression out of what already exists. A breeder, on the other hand, is totally different. A breeder is actually creating the genetics, right? They're making decisions that affect the gene pool for generations. It's completely different. The last video we did, what really inspired me to make this video, because it's not the first time I've seen confusion when it comes to grower and breeder. I got a comment on the last video, and the guy said, man, I've been growing for 30 years and breeding, and never once did I ever need science, and I'm doing just fine. And it's all about perspective, right? It's always levels to it, right? So, in a sense, it can be correct. But if you want to do it right, no. You got to follow the science. You got to actually know what you're doing. I'm going to give you an example just to make an obvious separation as to what you think is the same, right? I come from, my foundation of experience is from breeding dogs. 25 plus years of breeding dogs. Eventually, once I gained all that experience, I ended up breeding other models, right? Plants, other animals, things like that. Ultimately, when you're dealing with life, right? When you're dealing with whether any animal, right? When you have actual life in your hands and you're responsible for making sure that you don't make things worse, you don't end up making things bad, right? You tend to have to take your time, learn, and really avoid making critical mistakes that can cost a litter of puppies their health, right? Puppies can come out blind, disabled, deaf, right? All sorts of recessive and dominant traits that are undesirable that you can't just afford to make a mistake when it comes to an actual life, right? Because life could be at risk, and it would be your fault for just thinking you were trying something that you thought was cool. You wanted to try out breeding, and it cost some animals their life. Plants aren't like that. Plants are not like that. So you could have had 30 years experience growing and breeding your plants, but you'll never have the experience of dealing with actual life. So you'll never have the responsibility of taking your time and risking a negative outcome when it comes to health or physical disability, right? When you are breeding and growing your plants, you can do it without any risk, and you can practice and chuck and pollen chuck and throw stuff, and you can do it whatever you want, and nobody's getting hurt, right? No animals are being hurt. But if you don't know what you're doing, in my world, where I come from, animals can suffer. Animals can suffer in a bad way. They can lose their life, or they can suffer from physical illnesses, right? And physical ailments and disabilities. So there's your difference right there, right? Initially, before we even start the video, that's for you. The guy who thought that 30 years of growing is equivalent to 30 years of breeding. It's not. And without further ado, let's break down why. So when it comes to a good grow, what actually makes a good grow? And let me know in your opinion, drop it in the comments, in your opinion, what makes a good grow? Dialed in environment, right? Focusing on the environment, consistency, pushing the plant to the best of its performance, and I guess being able to make average or weak genetics look good or better. I've seen great growers make mid genetics look decent, right? Look better. And that's what people get fooled, right? That's what people can get fooled. So ultimately, can we really say an excellent grower is doing justice for bad genetics if they are making them seem better than what they actually are? Something to think about. What makes a good breeder? Drop it in the comments as well. In your opinion, what makes a good breeder? I know you don't have many. I know you don't have many to look at and use as an example, but thanks to Khalifa Genetics and Aladdin over at Khalifa Genetics and Zaza over at Zaza Genetics and a couple others that don't really make any noise. Shout out to them. Right? They do. They have given our community a good example of what a good breeder looks like. But what makes a good breeder? Selection skills is everything. Selection and understanding the science of inheritable traits. Understanding Mendel's laws of inheritance. Understanding the history, Gregor Mendel, and how the father of genetics studied all of these formulas in 1865, right? Understanding the foundation is something that a good breeder should know. Understanding traits over just genetics. Traits are super important. Dominant versus recessive. Understanding how to use a Punnett square to your advantage. Understanding ratios, percentages, right? Probability. Patience. Huge. Gotta have patience. It's probably on the top of the list because it's going to be many times where your work is going to require you to just sit back and start over. The ability to see potential and not just current performance, right? The ability to see potential, the ability to have eye-on experience and not just hands-on experience. A good breeder doesn't just look for what looks good right now or today. A good breeder understands and looks for what he can make look good for tomorrow and improve for tomorrow. Where many growers or good growers get it twisted, get it misconstrued, they grow fire and they think that makes them a good breeder for some reason, right? They think that is equivalent to, oh, I can be a good breeder. When they only pick plants based on look, right? There is no real selection process and there's no real understanding of stability. That's why that word gets thrown around so loosely in our community, stability, without a real understanding of stability. Just because it looks good does not mean it breeds good. And that's just a fact. I can give one of my Breeder University students 2 plants, right? They'll be picking the one that yields more, smells louder, looks more fire, based on being a good grower, right? They want the one that shows the results. A good breeder, on the other hand, may skip all of that. A breeder might pick the one that doesn't even look the best because of the possibilities of what he can pass on through generations. So keep that in mind as well. You got to remember, a grower works in one cycle, right? A breeder is thinking 3, 4, 5, 6 generations ahead. Growers are short-term execution, and breeders equal long-term strategy. It's just a fact. You'll never reach the point of being a good breeder if you think being a good grower is equivalent. because it's not. And the fact of the matter, the hard truth type shit is that most people breeding right now are just growers who are making seeds, man, aka pollen chuckers, unfortunately. And if the shoe doesn't fit, you don't have to wear it. Join Breeding University.
Shouts out to them certified pollen chuckers.
Get your weight up, not your hate up.
Some of them know the pollen they at least chucking.
Join Breeding University, right? But it's
I might not be the best breeder.
Most people that
but I got access to these
right now
pollen
just
and
good
these
growers who are making
stems,
seeds,
so
but you're not a breeder. So I
put them together, I
cannot
call
just
it
drop
this.
you off without
and that
telling
works for
you
me.
how to transition from
Because
a
we
good
can add
grower
A and B
into a
and get
breeder,
C
right?
all day.
It's not
I like
too late.
C. That's
You
what we're
can
going to see problems
Let me
with.
tell you, good growers make the best good breeders. I'm going to repeat that. An excellent grower makes an excellent breeder. If you take the necessary steps, right? Start observing, not just growing. Start observing. Remember that eyes on experience. Track your traits. Document everything. We talk about how important it is. Stop chasing the hype. Stop chasing the hype names and the hype packaging and the pollen chucker breeders. Stop chasing that.
Zaza
Actually
Genetics,
do
man.
research and learn so that you can have purpose on what you want to put together, right? So you can build a
or
story.
drop a comment if you on the replay gang
on your outpost. Learn selection, not just cultivation, right? Cultivation is one part of Breeding University, but the other part is breeding. Selection, super huge, super important. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Take your time and get around the right people. Team Zaza is always available. Each one, teach one, man. If you truly want to be a good breeder, if you truly want to be an excellent breeder, stop thinking like a grower.
Good to see. How you doing?
Stop thinking like a grower and make the transition. As soon as you make that transition and stop thinking like a grower, everything changes, man. Mark my words. If you are a grower who wants to be a breeder or considers yourself a breeder, don't matter. Come to the Discord. We can chop it up. We can debate. We can do all of that. You can come to school. You can learn a lesson, whatever. Steel sharpens steel, but steel melts through butter. So much love. We're dropping every
definitely know. I'll be over there in the Discord, but I ain't been in Discord
15,
for a minute.
y'all gotta say
Mr.
Algorithm in the comments by Monday, right? Mr. Algorithm. Hey,
I'm gonna get back into my Discord
make sure y'all visit
one of these days.
The Daily Lives. We're in Clubhouse tonight.
Somebody try to kick me out.
Join the Discord, the real Team Zaza Discord, the real educational platform, man. We've been doing this for too long for somebody to impersonate what we've been doing. Other than that, man, you can copy the format, you can copy the style, but you can't copy respect. Follow the innovators, not the imitators and the multi-haters. Much love to the gang, man. Much love to Team Zaza YouTube. Much love to Team Zaza Street Team. Much love to Breeding University. Much love to Team Zaza. Catch y'all tomorrow on the next video, man. I'm out of here, gang. Mr. Nice Guy was blowing up, man. We got customers from all over New York.
No, not that.
We even stole a few from Samson.
Oh, what's up, nigga? Come on in, man. Come on, wait, man. Thanks, baby. You know, feed it over these Karens. Yeah. What can I get you today, Smoke a Lot? Lovely. Let me get a pound of your Swedish Chewbacca. Damn. Yes, someone told me to bring a lot of weed, man.
It's right after you had a harvest, too.
Pound of my Swedish Chewbacca. You know better than that.
Hey.
Round you the bag, baby.
Out
It's gonna be
bag.
$600, bro. See what I got here. Come on, man. Hang out for a minute, smoke with me. I got weed, got my bong out. Come on, son.
For you, man. I'll stay for a minute, but then I gotta be going.
I understand.
Man, Smoke a Lot opened up to me like I was Barbara Walters. It was ridiculous. He told me about his lawyer.
He had sex with my mama. Why?
Spirituality.
God, if you listen, hell,
his bad back.
Doctor said I need a baccalaureate.
Yeah, y'all know I keep this half-baked scenes in these videos because it reminds me of dealing with customers every day.
Tough break.
You get good customers, you get bad customers, right?
No wonder they smoke a pound a week. So now we add a famous clientele.
Shit. Shout out to the customers, though. Appreciate y'all.
Guess what else? Call me next week. About weed.
About weed, of course. You can always call me about weed.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of TDR Cannabis at 5, presented by our good friends over at FlowHub. I am your host, Chad Dales. So, big story we flagged last week. No, not the Pam Bondi firing, but more about the meeting that took place in Washington around federal cannabis product enforcement policy that's now officially happening. And now we're starting to get a clear picture of what was actually discussed behind closed doors at these meetings and where this is headed. So let's break this down here in our latest TDR Cannabis in 5, presented by FlowHub. So, first up, what actually took place? Well, the White House, it held its first ever federal meeting focused specifically on cannabis and hemp product enforcement, bringing together multiple agencies, including the FDA, the DOJ, and other federal stakeholders to begin aligning on how this market should be regulated moving forward. So at the center of this discussion was a draft FDA framework titled Cannabidiol Products Compliance and Enforcement Policy.
Definitely appreciate regular photo
So this proposal has already been submitted for White House review. And based on who was in the room, and this wasn't just a preliminary conversation, this was a working session on how enforcement is actually going to take shape. So what was talked about, because this is where things get interesting. So according to reporting, the meeting included not just regulators, but also industry stakeholders, policy advisors, and advocacy groups, all weighing in on how the federal government should approach enforcement in a market that's growing rapidly with little oversight.
Now you know to throw all the clones
these
out too.
Conversations happening, and right now, from what we're hearing, the feedback was pretty direct. One of the biggest things discussed was consumer safety. Of course it was.
Any
There's
mail,
growing
you'll be
concern
looking
right
back
now,
to your other
especially
clones
from
like,
federal
all right,
agencies,
well, a couple
that the
of y'all
current
clones get
hemp-derived
to run
product
from the
market
other ones
lacks
now,
consistency.
which is the
Well,
good,
yeah, we
bad
know that.
news, right?
Participants, they raised issues around
That's the good bad news
products
about
with inaccurate
regulars.
THC or CBD
You'll have some
levels,
males, but hey, if
contamination
you want to
risks, and a
actually get
lack
into
of
a breeding
standardized
project,
testing across
you're gonna want
states.
those
So the
guys
takeaway
anyways,
here
right?
was simple, everyone.
Yeah,
Regulators
you ain't
believe
gotta mix and
consumers
cross
are
nothing. You get
exposed
to
to too much
mix this with
uncertainty right now.
female of
In
it.
addition to that,
See if
another
you get the
major
same
focus
fucking
was
thing back, right?
intoxicating hemp-derived products.
Or
And
is it
this
gonna
is where
express a little
things
differently?
really start to
You
tighten
can get a
up. There
couple
was clear
variations,
discussion around
right?
products like Delta 8 and other hemp-derived THC variants that are
Yeah.
currently being sold outside of regulated cannabis systems. And the concern from policymakers is that these products are right now
Shout out to
widely
Shad, though. He be
available,
coming with
often
this
unregulated,
info.
and in
You know, I
some cases
appreciate it.
marketed in ways that
Hell, makes
appeal
it
to
real
younger
easy to go to a
consumers. So
clip
that
farming
issue,
session.
of course, was front and center in this meeting. There was also strong emphasis on marketing and health claims. So what was it? Well, federal officials, they pushed back on the number of companies making medical or therapeutic claims without proper approval. Crazy this is happening. And this is something the FDA has flagged before, but now it's being tied
That's
directly
the
into
bad thing
enforcement
about when you
priorities,
start
meaning
growing
this
shit,
likely
you'll
becomes
notice
one of the
that
first areas
some
where companies start to
real
feel
fire
the
weed
pressure.
will be
And they
some weed
should,
that don't like to
right?
grow a
Now,
lot
in
of it.
terms of tone, this wasn't a loose discussion. No, far from it. The overall
I
messaging
mean,
that
once
came
you
out of this meeting
had
was that the federal
plants that
government is preparing
pop
to
out 2 or
move
3
from
pounds
observation to
easy,
now action.
you
That's
see something
good,
that's only
because as
gonna
we
give
know,
you a
for
half a
years,
pound, you're like,
agencies
what?
have acknowledged the issues
Wait
in
a
the hemp
minute.
space, but now
A
they're
half
actively
pound of
working
this
on
is all
how
I
to
got?
enforce against them. So we are seeing a plan of action now being
Yeah,
discussed,
man,
and
that's
that,
some
let's
bitch.
face
And
it,
it
is
took
a
10
big
weeks.
shift out of Washington. Because as we know, once enforcement priorities are
Yeah,
set,
that
it's no
motherfucker just
longer
kept
about
looking
guidance,
small
it's definitely
for
about
forever.
execution. So really what you're
Then
starting
it
to
finally
see,
got
products
frosty
removed from
about
shelves,
2 weeks ago.
retailers being forced to comply, and companies needing to meet higher federal standards. Again, of course this needs to happen. Now, we're still pretty early in this, and the policy itself hasn't been finalized. We don't have exact timelines, and we
It's
don't
definitely
know
good to
how
see you,
aggressive
John. Appreciate you
enforcement
stopping
will
by,
be
saying hi,
out of the
man.
gate. But I will say the direction right now from what we're hearing is pretty clear. The federal government is stepping in to bring in structure to a market that's operating in a gray area for years. And from an industry standpoint, that's going to create divide. On one side, you got companies that are already focused on compliance, quality, and transparency. But on the other side, you got operators that relied on regulatory inventory gaps to move product. Those days are over. And as enforcement ramps up, that gap is going to become more and more obvious. So the key question now becomes this. What does enforcement actually look like once the policy is indeed finalized? How strict will it be on intoxicating hemp products? And really, how quickly does this reshape the retail landscape? Because we're already seeing it happen in states like Texas. Because those answers are going to define the next phase of this industry. And before we wrap, just a quick reminder, everyone, coming up later this week, we're going to have a full in-depth breakdown of everything that came out of these meetings on our live stream coming up tomorrow, Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Trent Wolovec from Jushi, who was in Washington last week and who attended these meetings, will be joining us live to talk more in depth about what went down. So he'll walk us through everything, like the tone of the meetings and how it went, and really what the biggest takeaways are for the industry going forward. So if you want the full picture, that's where you're going to get it. Again, Tuesday, 4 p.m. on our live stream. All right, everyone, that's it for our latest TDR Cannabis and 5 presented by FlowHub. Leave your comments below on how you think this is all going to play out. Want to keep this conversation going. And like I always say, make sure to like, subscribe, smash on that bell for all notifications. Stay connected with us here at TDR. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next video. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and thanks again for watching.
I mean, coming up, I ain't got too much to worry about from being and going to a lot of shows that I've gone to. Hell, I've seen that we've got a pretty decent amount of breeders here locally, so I ain't got to worry about that. And they've already spent their last few years shopping with genetics where they could get them. So now they just been locked in and creating shit from what they already had, right?
Stealing from.
Right, they got back genetics, so they done already saved up some seeds for breeding projects, so yeah, they'll be able to go out. Shout out to Captain Redbeard.
When I have to go to the dentist,
definitely will be hitting him up at the next event I see him.
But when
hey, bro, I need some genetics.
Decides to take over one of the most profitable territories in the country, I'm beyond fucking upset. I'm very fucking upset.
Lemon head things you gave me last time was good.
Management. You will work for
I have to
me,
look
but in return,
specific
you'll
name
receive
up,
an allowance.
Allowance?
Yes, allowance. As in, I'm allowing you to keep 10%, and I'm allowing you to keep drawing breath on this earth. Now, you either get down, or you lay down. What's it gonna be, sunshine?
This wasn't no movie. The smart thing was to say yes, get up, and leave the room.
Riley ain't smart, though.
But then I thought to myself, what if this was a movie? Look, fuck you. Fuck the plane you flew in on. Fuck them shoes. Fuck those socks with the bell on it. Fuck your gay-ass fairy faggot accent. Fuck them cheap-ass cigars. Fuck your yuck-mouth teeth. Fuck your hairpiece. Fuck your chocolate. Fuck Guy Ritchie. Fuck Prince William. Fuck the Queen. This is America. My president is black and my Lambo is blue, nigga. Now get the fuck out of my hotel room. And if I see you in the street, I'm slapping the shit out of you.
I think this one spent too much time at the cinema. Teach this cheeky bastard a lesson.
Somebody fucking move!
Oh man, this is bad.
What is this? A casting call for the Sopranos reunion? Do me a favour. Tell room service nobody here ordered the extra large wok with a side order of what?
Whoa!
What are you doing?
I'm giving you a ticket.
For what?
For one, you're parked illegally, and two, your lights aren't on.
You can clearly see I'm a police officer. I'm here on official police business.
What does that mean?
It means I'm on police business. I can park wherever I want.
No, you're parked illegally. You don't have your lights on. How are you at a call? Your lights aren't on.
They don't always need to be on.
When did that happen?
Why would my lights need to be on?
Because you said you were at a call. You were on a
official
call.
Police business.
No, you said you got a call.
I said I was on official police business.
Oh, what does that mean?
Exactly what I said, official police business.
Okay, sir, just let me do my job, okay?
You're not giving me a ticket.
Yes, I am.
You can't do it. I'm clearly a police officer. We're on the same side.
You're parked illegally. that does not give you a right, because you're a police officer, to park illegally.
Ma'am, I was on official police business.
I understand what you're saying, but you are parked illegally. Your lights are on. When you're a official police
Shit,
business,
you're gonna have to
your
go
lights
to
are
your
supposed
scene
to be
collection
on.
one day, John.
Look, I get this little power trip. Your
See
Honor,
what
I don't know
leftovers you got going
what you went
on.
through
I'm
or
just
what
doing my
fucked up.
Hey, you
job.
might have
You know
to
that you want this
sponsor
little
and
bit of
grow,
power you
bro.
need to be an exercise on. I promise you're exercising it on the wrong person.
Bring back
I'm
some
just doing my
throwback
job.
flavors to that chat. Yeah, you know I do it for the chat. Hell, coming up, I'm finna show y'all this
So
pH
today
toaster
we got some big news
from
when it comes to
AC
the good
Infinity that I'm finna get. This motherfucker's
busted
dope too.
to legalization updates that you guys have been asking for in states like North
We got some
Carolina,
AC
Idaho, and
Infinity
Alabama.
content because it's
Plus, there's a
dope.
revitalized push across America for rescheduling, or even better yet, descheduling of the good herb, as more and more senators are now pushing Congress to fully legalize and fully wipe out all past convictions. But let's start off right here in Louisiana, because a 71-year-old man was arrested and made an example of simply for growing his own plants.
76. Yeah, I knew they should have left that old dude alone. He was just at home kicking it. See, this is what's important about having your own home, not in the apartment. You know, when you own a house and you got the space for it, then you wonder, like, what's y'all
Now, if
people
that
trying to
isn't
do in my
ridiculous and
house?
a complete waste of
You know,
police
I got
time,
my
then
bud
I
in
don't
here
know
and I
what
don't
is.
need too
Because
many haters
having
in
a
this
look at this, you
motherfucker.
guys can see he's
You dig?
barely got 2 plants there right now. There are a few little solo cups filled with a couple seedlings, and that's about it. But this is
Hey,
what
I
police is
trust you
wasting
there.
their time
Shit,
on running down
65.
some of these citizens to arrest them and prosecute them for. But these types of things don't only happen in states like Louisiana, because also just a couple days ago over in Alabama, a state trooper seized 185 pounds of flour during a truck inspection. Have a look.
New tonight, the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency says an Oregon man is in custody after what you see on your screen was recovered in St. Clair County. Aaliyah says Dejun Soon was driving an 18-wheeler on Interstate 20 right near mile marker 143 when they discovered 23 boxes of marijuana with a total weight
40,
of
right?
185 pounds. Soon now faces multiple charges, including
I
drug
still got
trafficking.
many
His bond
years
is
of
set at
dealing with
$1.5 million.
markets.
Now, what we see from those two examples are two complete different ends of the spectrum. On one hand, you have a home grower who's just growing a couple plants seemingly for himself, but on the other hand, you have someone traveling interstate with over 185 pounds of herb in a truck. Now, for me, the old guy who's just growing at home, he's really not affecting anyone. And despite the fact that they claim he had distribution materials,
He is affecting people because he ain't spending money on the black market.
Consumption. Now, if you thought
That way
things
the
in
money
states
might
like
get caught
Louisiana
up.
and Alabama were bad, then you haven't seen anything
Then the
yet.
police be
Because
mad
over in
that they
Alabama,
seize some
just a
money.
couple months ago,
But that's what the
lawmakers
black
were
money
debating a new
market is
marijuana
for,
bill
right?
that will force teachers to call
Yeah,
the
give
police
everybody
if
bonuses.
students are smelling like weed. Have a look.
Well, some Birmingham area state legislators are in disagreement about a proposed bill related to marijuana. It
You raise
requires
somebody
teachers
for
to report students
$4
who
million.
smell
Don't
like
you get a percent of
marijuana
that?
to law enforcement and the Department of Human Resources. CBS 42's Scott Menshaw's covering this for us. He spoke with the bill's sponsor and a lawmaker who
Catch a drug
opposes this
dealer
legislation. Scott?
Yeah, sure
with
I
X
did.
amount of cash
Representative
on him. We
Patrick
count the
Sellers,
cash. He
who introduced
verifies
this
that's the
bill,
amount of
says
cash he's supposed to
it
have
came
on him.
about from
Boom,
educators who
take
told
his
him
shit.
they are seeing students' health
Then
impacted by
later
their
on, I don't
parents'
get my cut of
marijuana
that
use.
money.
Representative Wanda Gavan says this bill will not help students, but only
Talk
punish
about I
their
have to
parents.
check out the evidence.
Exactly.
A proposed state bill will make it law for teachers and other mandatory reporters to notify
I'll check
DHR and
out
law
the
enforcement
evidence.
when a child smells like marijuana. It also makes smoking marijuana in a car where a child is present a Class A misdemeanor.
Oh,
According to the
hell.
bill, the
See, this
reports
is
will
why
be
I tell people I
investigated in
can't
the
have
same
kids
way
driving with
reports
me.
of child abuse and
You
neglect
know,
are.
misdemeanor, man. I ain't
The
got
bill
time
was
for that.
introduced by Representative
Nope, I
Patrick
be
Sellers,
smoking
who says
in the
it
car.
doesn't add additional
If I get
penalties,
somewhere and
but
I
it does
can't smoke, I
provide
gotta smoke
protection
in the
for
car.
children.
Or already there's a penalty because marijuana is illegal, drugs are illegal. But to add the educational piece to it is so important. People need to be or understand or educated on
And it should be cheap because if you have the ability to grow your
and what
own,
it does to a child.
it's nice
The
if you actually
educational
know
piece
somebody
is,
with
of
some
course,
weed you
being
want to buy,
crafted by
then
the
you go buy
Alabama
that weed,
Department of
right?
Public Health, which will be mandatory for
You
anyone
see
who
what I'm
violates
saying?
the bill to take.
It has
That's
secondhand
that, hey, I
marijuana
can
smoke.
grow at
It has
home.
so
If
many
not,
different
you can hire
concerns
popcorn to
it,
grow in your home
from
for you.
development delays to
Shout out to the indoor
asthma
garden
to
consultations
bronchitis and
available
so
on the
many
Buy
things
Me a
that
Coffee,
affect children
free with the level
and
3
their young
membership.
ages.
Representative Gwendolyn Gavin is opposed to the bill. She believes it's unnecessary.
See, that's what the levels of membership is
First of all,
right?
we already have
That part is free with a level 3. But y'all ain't in Kansas City, so y'all don't know about that, right?
And they see that someone is
I
smoking
gotta give me some more
marijuana,
Kansas City
or they
members so
smell
I
the
can have a
marijuana.
membership
Guess
video
what? Again, that
about what the
goes to
membership
probable
perks are
cause.
for that
So
level.
now you're having
'Cause
it
I ain't
where
said
people
that
can
because
literally
nobody else
call
really,
and say, I think someone,
messed up and
how
bought
in the
it.
heck are you going to be able to determine that someone is sitting in their
Yeah.
car smoking marijuana? That doesn't make sense. It's not logical.
Now, you guys can see how this can open up a whole can of worms, because we're not talking about a fully legal state, mind you. We're talking about a prohibition state over in Alabama. In Alabama,
Can't
there's
smoke
no
when you
legal
drive, so you're supposed to
use.
stop,
So
park
what
the
they're
car
doing
when
is
you get
literally
there,
weaponizing
smoke
your
before you
neighbors
go
so that
in,
they call police
and that way by the
basically
time
rat
you
on
leave, you're
And
ready
the
to
funny thing
drive.
about this whole thing is that this is exactly what anti-herb groups want, because according to this, a drug reform group has laid out options to address high THC
Well, no, that's how I
risks
feel
without
about it,
returning to
because
criminalization. And this may be one of those.
say for my instance, I rarely have what they are known as anxiety attacks, but sometimes they are in the midst of driving, but usually not. So if I'm having an anxiety attack while I am on the road, that's what my medication would tell me to do. Stop, pull over, you know what I'm saying? Smoke you a little blunt, get your head back together, and then whenever you're ready to drive, continue driving. And it's that simple for me. I mean, boom, there you go. It's not saying that, hey, I'm getting high while I'm driving. No, I usually stop, park, make sure I'm good to go before I do leave. Is my head clear? Am I seeing things right, correctly? Yes. Okay, resume driving. If not, just stay parked there in the car for a while, because that's what the car's for. It's a private space for me at that point. Yeah, that's why I tell them, hell, they'll be watching you from the car, though. Like, what is this guy got going on with these mini blinds? Shout out to the thumbnail. I don't know if y'all saw the person with the mini blind in the thumbnail, because y'all just clicking on the video and coming in. Hell, who knows? Notification gang, where you ganging.
Options, literally calling the police and ratting on your neighbors. And we've seen it proposed in other states already, like Arizona, where lawmakers are encouraging folks to call the police if there is a smell which comes into your home. And another way that anti-herb lawmakers and prohibitionists are framing this whole thing is that it's causing a lot more issues when it comes to driving under the influence. Check it out.
The state police are stopping more people driving under the influence of cannabis since legalization back in 2021. And troopers report about a 20% increase in drug-related DWI arrests statewide. Officials warn cannabis can be highly potent, in some cases even stronger than alcohol.
March of 2021, it was legalized here in New York with the cannabis. We see a 20% increase on just New York State Police DWI drug arrests. We see about a 17% increase on DWI alcohol arrests from 2023 to 2025. So we are seeing an increase in the cannabis
Yeah, like I
use
said,
and people
hell,
behind the
officer, if
wheel.
you feel
And
threatened by
unfortunately,
who's in the
even with
vehicle, don't
PSAs
pull
and
over the
different things
car.
that were put
Hell.
out there, we do see an increase in
If
not
you
only
want to feel
alcohol,
safe,
but
take
also
your
in cannabis.
dumb ass back to your safe
When
zone.
you're talking about the cannabis, you're
I
not
don't feel
comparing
safe going
beer
up to
to
windows
cannabis.
with
Cannabis
cars
is
with
more in
tinted
the
windows.
realm of,
Okay,
think
well, quit pulling cars
cannabis,
over.
you're more thinking whiskey and above.
That's another
So
reason not to
according to
feel
state
safe.
troopers and professional
I just
thermometers,
randomly pulled
the
over this
good herb is
car. It
not
could have
equivalent to a
anybody in
single
it.
beer, but rather it's equivalent to a bottle of liquor, which is absolutely
And you know,
mind-blowing.
if they don't want to go to jail, they don't have
Anyone who
to,
knows
right?
anything about anything knows that if you consume an entire bottle
Well,
of
just
liquor,
because the
you're
cops stop
probably
you
going
don't
to get
mean you had to go to
alcohol
jail right
poisoning
there,
and
right?
wind up in the hospital.
Yeah, you
But on
can
the
shoot
other
up
hand,
the
if you
spot,
smoke that
get
whole
away from the
J or
scene,
consume that
and
whole A, you're
you
probably
might
just going to
change
be
cars
really
at a
hungry,
different
eat
location
everything in your
type shit,
fridge, get the
and going about
munchies, and fall
the
asleep.
rest of your
Now,
week.
thankfully, these fear-mongering reefer madness narratives are
I was
not
taking this
stopping
rental
change at
back
the federal
anyways,
level,
man.
because we've
He caught
already
me on the
discussed
right day, the
rescheduling,
right
already
day.
heard reports about
I was
President Trump setting
already
up a
picked up the other
descheduling
one
committee.
before I
And on
even
top of
left.
that, according to this article, Trump proposes to keep protecting state medical marijuana laws from federal interference. And I think that that's a good thing. And on top of that, President Trump has put medical cannabis protections in the
This
budget.
blunt
But
looks
while
like it's
all that
kinda
is happening,
big, but
as we
hell,
know, the media is pushing
I'm
back on
used to it.
everything that President Trump does, even when it comes to the good herb. Have a look.
As cannabis use becomes more common, experts warn to watch out how often you use it and the amount you take in. Here's Alex Stone.
A new study published in the journal Addiction suggests it may be helpful to view cannabis use by units, similar to how alcohol use is measured. Researchers looking at the THC habits of over 150 teens and young adults over the course of a year noted how likely they were to develop cannabis-related illness. At 5 milligrams per unit, young adults were at risk for developing a cannabis use disorder. At about
Especially, John, when you look
8.3
at their
units of
response
cannabis,
to
roughly the
scenes where there's
equivalent
been
of
shots
one
fired.
joint of high-potency marijuana.
Yeah, cops should
Teens, the
just stop.
threshold was around
Most of the
half
shots have
that.
ended
If
before
your
they
child has
even
been
got there.
overusing cannabis in any form,
Yeah,
joints,
they still
vapes,
shooting
pills,
the
or
alcohol
gummies,
like 5
it's time to
minutes
check
ago,
in with
though.
your pediatrician.
They still
Free
shooting.
confidential
You know,
help is
bullets is
available
expensive. They
24/7
can
by
afford
calling or
5 minutes
texting
of shooting.
800-662-HELP.
Damn.
So despite the fact that time and time again we see all the benefits that this good plant has to offer, we see situations where media is pushing the fear-mongering narratives and literally telling you that high-potency THC, even one joint of it, could cause you to end up in real issues and you may have to go to the doctor. But on the flip side, parents of kids with terminally ill diseases are literally saying that rescheduling could unlock research to treat rare diseases. And this is according to a parent of a terminally ill child. Have a listen.
Who am I in all of this? I am a palliative father. My son has terminal illness, and I fight for his life every day. For 16 years, I've been a VA hospice volunteer, sitting at the bedside of dying warriors who've served this country, honoring the promise that no veteran dies alone. My advocacy for my son and veterans centers on palliative care and access to cannabinoids, rescheduling marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 to unlock research and healing, especially for rare diseases. I'm also an advocate against child trafficking, and I implore you to stand against it at home and abroad. These realities made me something the Chinese did not anticipate in the lawfare. A father who faced bigger,
Yeah, that makes no
scarier
fucking
dragons
sense. Even
than
if
them and their 16 lawyers.
I mean, just
With my
random
son and
people that they
veterans, I
just
realized
randomly run across,
we are not
unless you know you
chemical
have
beings to
a
be pumped full of
suspect
pharmaceuticals.
of an
We are
of an
electrical
apparent
beings
investigation that you've been
filled with
observing.
light.
Yeah, you
Our
can't
bodies
just
run on bioelectrical
randomly
fields,
pull over
energy
cars and
pathways,
expect
and
people to
natural
comply.
frequencies. This is biology. That every
That
cell
is
has an
outrageous. Now,
electrical
unless
charge, every
there's been
muscle
an
movement, every
investigation and you
heartbeat
know
is
who
the
this
result of
person
an
is,
electrical
it
charge
ain't no we
or
just ran into a
discharge.
random person and you
The
don't treat them like
EKG and
shit.
EEG medical tests are measuring
Nah, you can't just
electrical
treat random
impulses
people
in the
like
heart
shit,
and brain.
sir. Yeah,
As a palliative father, I tried
you are the
everything else.
police.
Tell my
You're
son
upholding the
only
law.
energetic
That means
medicine,
you should know the laws you're
including sound and
upholding.
light therapies,
This person
brought
is
him
wanted
relief
for such and
when
such.
nothing else did.
Okay, we've identified
And
his
this is the
face for
next
this
wave of
last
healthcare,
mugshot, right?
and the intellectual property behind
Meaning he's a known
is pure
criminal at this point,
So
so
this is the next
therefore we
wave of
doing what we do.
healthcare. And when you have
Yeah.
parents who are literally fathers to terminally
Everyday
ill kids,
people are supposed
and
to be
they're
able to
calling for
fucking travel
rescheduling, then you know you're probably on the right track.
without having
Partner
to call
that with the
Weiss.
fact that even Hawaii senators are pushing Congress
Weiss, I
to
need a
federally
ride.
legalize good herb
Hey,
and
I'm
claim
trying to
all
get there.
past
I ain't trying to get
convictions,
pulled
then
over.
you know you're probably doing something right.
Request the United States Congress to remove
Shit.
cannabis from the Federal Controlled Substances Act, provide support to states that are clearing defendants' records of cannabis offenses. Our recommendation here is to pass the SCR and SR with amendments, technical amendments, including specifying in the title of the request is for Congress to enact legislation to cause the other actions to occur, and delete 2 clauses about alcohol and tobacco as they seem irrelevant to this particular RISO. Questions or concerns? If not, Sir Gabbard.
On SCR 64 and SR 58, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments with all members present. Are there any no votes or reservations? Hearing none, the measures are adopted.
So even over in Hawaii, senators have approved 2 resolutions calling on Congress to federally legalize the good herb, support state efforts to clear people's past convictions, and take steps to facilitate access to banking services. And those are all big moves, really important at the federal level. And change at the federal level could literally signal change in other states like North Carolina, because currently North Carolina is fighting the battle for legalization. And according to this article, the governor of North Carolina has stepped up the push for legalization as the state commission issued a new report. Now we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail, as well as show you guys what's happening over in Idaho as well as Maine, because those changes are really big. But before we do, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or cop some merch from our merch store. We got that new American grown hoodie. Use that code ICANNTHC and grab it now. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics. Use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundle and the seeds.
Marijuana is illegal in North Carolina, but billions of dollars are spent in this state on illicit pot and other intoxicating cannabis products. Now, a state advisory group wants lawmakers to legalize marijuana and regulate the cannabis. WRO State Government reporter Caroline Yaffa is live in Raleigh to explain why the group thinks regulation will make cannabis safer. Caroline?
I'm here on Glenwood South, and there are several shops that sell legal hemp products. Now, the North Carolina Advisory Council on Cannabis, they want the state to let these stores sell marijuana and regulate intoxicating cannabis products. Now, here, by doing so, it could generate millions of dollars for the state and make cannabis safer. Inside this shop, customers come in for a variety of legal products.
People come in looking for pre-rolls, gummies, drinks, like a wide variety of the products that we offer.
Ian Bradshaw says these are some of the most popular products people ask for.
If it were like legal marijuana, we'd definitely be able to sell that for sure.
Hemp is legal in the state because it has low levels of THC, the stuff that gets you high. Marijuana has higher levels of THC, and billions of dollars of stuff is bought illegally. Other intoxicating cannabis products are unregulated. The council says the absence of enforcement and regulatory guardrails have created uncertainty for customers, responsible businesses, healthcare providers, educators, parents, and law enforcement. Legalization would bring regulations over packaging, potency, and sales to unregulated cannabis products. Governor Josh Stein previously told WRAL that North Carolina needs safeguards.
It is the Wild West out there. The idea that we have a system where this product, which is a drug that can get you high, is for sale out there without any restrictions on how it's sold, to me is insane.
Lawmakers from both parties have introduced bills to regulate cannabis products, though none have become law. The group says the state could reap hundreds of millions in tax revenue if lawmakers allowed stores to sell marijuana to adults. That could fund public health education, enforcement, and efforts to keep the products out of the hands of kids.
So legalization could open up lots of avenues for profit for the state, and that profit can go towards many programs that residents of that state can get benefits from. And like I always say, in states where there's no legal, medical, or recreational laws, THC hemp becomes even more important, and that's the case over in North Carolina. And now North Carolina hemp farmers are facing tons of uncertainty, especially considering the fact that possible THC law changes are looming. Check it out.
North Carolina's hemp industry is panicking right now because by November, most of what they sell will be illegal under federal law. And these are those businesses behind those THC products you've been seeing pop up all over the place, from corner stores to gas stations to vape shops to the massive national chains like Total Wine. It is big business, and many people here like that business. They like the products because in a lot of ways they offer the same results as marijuana in a state where all forms of marijuana are illegal. And that kind of confuses a lot of people. So we put together this quick little explainer. Well, this is hemp. This is marijuana. They are siblings. This might be a little easier to explain using another plant. So let's use wild cabbage. Right? This plant is the oldest ancestor of some of your favorite veggies. Broccoli, kale, collards, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, all of them come from wild cabbage. We have those variations because of selective breeding. While some of those siblings might be bushy like broccoli and others leafy like kale, they all share a common ancestor and common traits. And with hemp and marijuana, one of those traits is THC, specifically Delta-9 THC, which is the primary compound that gets you high. Now, marijuana has lots of it. Hemp has very little, but it does exist in both plants.
So that makes it absolutely clear. And in states where there's no legal medical herb or no legal recreational herb, THC hemp becomes even more important. Because when you leave things in the hands of lawmakers and hope that they're legalized for the people, most times they're not going to do that. In fact, they'll go against what the people want. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening over in Idaho. Because the Idaho Senate has passed a resolution urging the voters not to sign a medical marijuana ballot petition. And in other words, this resolution literally urges voters in the state to reject any ongoing efforts to place an initiative to legalize medical herb on the November ballot. Idaho, they're simply not on it.
Medical marijuana is facing an uphill battle in Idaho. Lawmakers have passed a resolution urging voters to say no if the Medical Cannabis Act appears on the November ballot. I'm your Canyon County neighborhood reporter, Victoria Rodriguez, looking into the resolution and the efforts by the Natural Medicine Alliance of Idaho to gather enough signatures to put it before voters. On Wednesday, the House State Affairs Committee and the House floor debated Senate Concurrent Resolution 127. The resolution, presented by Republican Representative Jason Monks, Drugs urges Idahoans to reject the Idaho Medical Cannabis Act if it appears on the November ballot. During the debate, some lawmakers said legislation could bring increased crime, impaired driving, health risks, and new costs for the state.
And I have traveled not only this country, but across the globe. And I'm here to tell you, everywhere that they have legalized marijuana, you see much more homelessness. You see people that are just completely out of it. And it is not something I want to see in Idaho.
Other lawmakers echoed concerns over crime and social issues. Republican Representative Jaron Crane of District 12 compared cities with legal marijuana to Boise.
It feels different walking in downtown Portland and Seattle than it does walking in Boise. And so the cost will definitely always be higher than the benefit of a projected tax revenue.
Now, let me make this absolutely clear, because this is something that I've said time and time again. In states and cities which have legal recreational herb, you may notice a decline in society simply because those Democrat lawmakers in those states have implemented softer on crime policies. It's not down to the good herb. It's literally not the good herb causing chaos in society, but rather the lawmakers that are giving these criminals a slap on the wrist, letting them off easily, and implementing these softer on crime policies. That's actually what literally causes the decline of these cities.
Violent crime spiraling out of control in New York City. A nurse visiting Manhattan died over the weekend after a deranged homeless man slammed her to the ground in Times Square, moments after mugging another woman. Meanwhile, a mentally ill woman shoving someone into a subway train last week. In both cases, the suspects were set free without bail from previous crimes, thanks to a 2020 bail reform law.
I could point to Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, California, Denver, Colorado. There's so many different blue liberal states and cities which implement these softer crime policies that literally affect law-abiding citizens. And then prohibitionists point to those cities and point to those states and say legalization has completely ruined it, when that's not actually accurate.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is that everyone is now realizing that the soft on crime revolving door criminal justice system has been an unmitigated disaster. And the voters and the constituents are making very clear to their elected officials that we're no longer going to tolerate chaos and disorder in our streets. We want safe communities. I think the voters are making themselves clear, and we're starting to see it nationwide. Voters have they've had enough of it.
And the truth is, another one of those states which people point to is over in Maine, because Maine is legalized for quite some time now, and they do have Democrat lawmakers which have implemented softer crime policies, so much so that now lots of illegal grow operations are popping up in Maine. And according to this article, Maine lawmakers have now rejected a bill to legalize consumption lounges. While on the other hand, to get a grip on all that's been going on because of those softer crime policies, they're trying to implement tracking and testing bills, which will literally shutter the industry.
Advocates for medical cannabis filled the State House today, speaking out against a proposal that would require testing and tracking of the program and add a potency cap to usage. Opponents of the bill claim it's an attack on the program as a whole. They have concerns it can lead to the closure of small business caregivers by adding new costs, which will ultimately affect consumers. Supporters call it common sense, saying patients should be sure the product is the correct dosage and that they're protected from being exposed to toxic contaminants such as heavy metals, mold, and pesticides.
There are over 1,000, small operators in the medical cannabis industry, and they all employ, 3 to a dozen employees. But there's over 110,000 patients who are currently happily accessing this program, choosing the medical program over the adult use program, despite all of the propaganda around medical.
A statement from the Maine Public Health Association, which supports the bill, says in part, it safeguards patients, cracks down on illicit grows, and supports small operators. The bottom line is that this bill will help ensure the integrity of Maine's medical cannabis program, and that's a good thing for patients and small businesses.
So even in fully legal and prohibition states, we're still grappling with this whole issue. But let me know what you guys think about that. Everything that we discussed in today's video. And here's the question of the day for you guys. Do you guys think the rescheduling is actually going to happen anytime soon? And if it does, is it going to be a good thing or a bad thing? Let me know where you guys stand on that in the comment section down below. Now, coming up in our next video, the DEA has dropped a massive bombshell when it comes to the good herb, and it's not what you may think. This may actually signal good news for our favorite plant. It's absolutely crazy. Check it out. It's coming up right now.
Hell, back in the 60s, I was smoking shit on the street. Cops didn't say nothing. Hell, it's getting high, too. Everybody was doing it. It wasn't a thing to do because it was a thing to do, you know. It was a thing to do because it got you high. Can you do?
I feel you. Nah, that's why I'm doing it. I feel it. Man, you cool as shit, mister. I hate to do it, but I gotta charge you. That's $60.
$60?
Yeah.
Man, I remember when a dime bag cost a dime. You know what I mean? You know how much condoms used to cost back in them days?
How much?
I don't know. We never used them.
Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of the TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by FlowHub. As usual, I am your host, Shad Dales. All right, here's what's grabbing our attention today. As we know, big shift last week regarding the DOJ, where a new acting attorney general is now in place, and more importantly, what appears to be a push from President Trump to finalize marijuana rescheduling immediately. So let's break that down here in our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by FlowHub. First up, some quick context. As we now know, President Trump, as I said, he officially removed Pam Bondi last week as Attorney General, and in her place, he's appointed Todd Blanche as interim Attorney General. Now, Blanche isn't just any replacement. This is someone who has been closely aligned with Trump, previously serving as his personal attorney and then Deputy Attorney General. So in some ways, this is a meaningful shift, not just politically, but operationally as well inside the DOJ. So here's where things get interesting for the cannabis industry. So according to new reporting, Trump is now pushing for Blanche to finalize marijuana rescheduling without waiting for a permanent attorney general to be confirmed. So is there some truth to that? Because if so, there'd be no delaying it, there'd be no revisiting it, and it would be finalized. So why does this matter? Well, it matters in a lot of ways, as we know, because if you've been following this story, and we've been covering a lot here at TDR, this entire process has been stuck in limbo for years. Some people thinking that Pam Bondi didn't move this expeditiously and really question whether she wanted this done in the first place. So let that sink in. And if true, well, her outcome, well, it's already been decided, right? When we look back in December, Trump, he signed the executive order directing the DOJ to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under the Controlled Substances Act. As we know, that was a major moment. But again, since then, there's been no final rule, there's no official publication, and there's no finish line. So that's why when we fast forward to today and last week's development, it changes the tone in a lot of ways. Because with this, it signals, if true, some urgency. The White House appears to be saying, look, we're not waiting on bureaucracy anymore. Let's get this done already. So now when you look at this from a market perspective, this is critical. Industry observers are already suggesting that the rescheduling process could be completed within the next few weeks, maybe even the next month, depending on how aggressively the DOJ moves under Blanche. And remember, rescheduling to Schedule 3 doesn't legalize cannabis federally, but it does have massive implications for the business side. And if that were to take place, yes, that would be good. But let's zoom out for a second, because the real question investors are asking right now is this: does this leadership change accelerate the timeline or create more uncertainty? So on one hand, you have Blanche, who's seen as highly aligned with Trump's agenda. So in theory, that could mean faster execution. Then on the other hand, we're still dealing with a legal and administrative process that has to follow certain steps, including publication, implementation timelines, and likely legal challenges. And make no mistake, everyone, in this, even if this gets finalized, lawsuits again are expected from who else? Sam. So expect that. So really in all this, where does this leave us here today? So right now, the messaging from the administration is pretty clear. Rescheduling is still on track, but the difference now is the speed involved in this. And for investors watching this space, that is the key takeaway. It's always been the key takeaway, which is the speed, because the timing indeed matters. If this gets finalized in the next month or so, then you're likely going to see a significant reaction across U.S. cannabis equities. But if the delay continues, then guess what? We're back to the same story the market has been dealing with for the past several months, though I do think we're well on our way. So the bottom line, this isn't just a DOJ leadership change. This could be the moment where cannabis rescheduling finally moves from talk to now execution. At least that's the hope. And change changes already being made at the DOJ level. And all signs, the interim Attorney General Todd Blanche and the rumored name Lee Zeldin, they're all positives for the cannabis space. So it's all about the speed and execution. So let's get on with this already. So that's it for our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by FlowHub. Let us know in the comments below. You think there's some truth to this story? And if so, do you like the moves that were made last week? We got some comments from a couple days earlier, so let's keep that conversation going and whether or not you think this story is true and if you think this will get expedited rather quickly. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, smash on that bell for all notifications, and stay connected with us here at TDR. All right, everyone, that's it for now. I'm your host, Shad Dales. I'll see you in the next video, and thanks again for watching. Take care, everyone.
From summer's end till the winter comes, till gray days turn to yellow ones. I stayed grinding for mine. I try to tell them once, to travel to the moon, you gotta brave the elements. And battle many goons, you gotta cage the elephants. It's elementary, I speak with a certain eloquence. I smoke hella blunts, a habit I've been developed since I was a young boy playing the silver ball. See them stand, feel them fall. Metallica, kill them all. Living like this is my last moment, but a moment could last forever. Snap a picture in that colon. Give whatever you going, sip in your glass, hold it up, hit the side on mine, get the tip in the back, go in. So many days we were sitting low, better get busy living till the day you giving and then get to go where the sinners go, pulling the cash and spend it slow, better make it fast, but them should know, matter no money, yo, it's all expendable, you'll be alright, yeah.
Of course, y'all know before we do get up out of here, like I said, link up with the Buy Me a Coffee and pick up one of these free extras, because you know the extras are what's free for y'all, just like the posts. Posts are public and free for y'all to go check out. You did go check him out, like he said. But anyways, we're gonna go to content. Boom. We content creators, right? Yeah, we create the content y'all like to watch, keep y'all entertained, keep you in a playlist. I know all about playlists. Go hit up the playlist. You know what I mean? You'll be in there. You dig? Like, yeah, Popcorn done reviewed a lot of stuff. Let's get the link to this video. Get shareable link. Thank you. It's in the clipboard. Okay, let's go to the Buy Me a Coffee. Look at this. Check out your boy. We finally changed our background for the people that were wondering if I would. Yeah, let's click the log in because I see I'm logged out. Yeah. Anyways, now that we're in, let's go to create. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to post this video link because it's a video link. So it'll just be a quick post, right? Today's video topic. So now they sneak watching. So now they sneak watching. That shit popular. Okay. Let them know I'm out here sneak watching. I see that shit. They SNEAKWATCHING. Yeah, link. Shit. Oh, look, we got it right the first time. Thank you. Makes me look like I use this computer from time to time. Appreciate that. And it's that easy. You see what I'm saying? Post to you, Buy Me a Coffee. Just take your video link, Buy Me a Coffee post. Same damn day, right? Right. Yeah. You know, there's like, well, you could have posted before 6 to let us know you were going live. Now I posted at the end of my live to let you go watch the video. It's my trick to the game, right?